wondered how the intimate scenes are actually curated or choreographed or created within the film or TV sets, well, you don't need to wonder anymore, because today we are having in studio a film director and producer who's actually worked in shows that have really pushed the envelope. So we're going to be discussing that right here. So welcome with me in the studio, Grace Kahaki of Insignia. Karibu sana, Grace Kahaki.
Asante.
Super director, super producer.
Thank
we are
you.
so blessed to have you here with us. And today we're talking matters intimacy.
Yes.
There has been a buzz around creating content safely, so that the actors feel they are comfortable to be able to express themselves in certain scenes. Because kitambo, we didn't even have kissing scenes.
Very true.
Sahi, it almost feel like they're adult content. But you know, the whole intimacy coordinating is not just about sex scenes. It's also about, you know, rage and anger and grief and loss and all that. And you'll be taking us through it.
Yeah.
So maybe let's start there. What is this intimacy coordinating? What is it?
So I think, just to put it simply, intimacy coordinators are people who have been trained, have, you know, gone through the training process to make sure that actors especially are communicated with in a very clear language of how a scene will be executed by the director, a very intimate scene. And exactly what you said, it's not just, for example, a passionate scene, a kissing scene, etc. It's the scenes that, you know, have to do with emotions, exactly, rage or anything like that. How will the actor be in an environment where they feel safe enough, and will they feel comfortable enough, and have they been communicated everything that will be performed during that scene and everything that is expected of the actor by the director, and have they consented to what the director has said that they want to execute clearly. Yeah.
So does this stop with the actors? Because there's so many players within a set. We have crew members who are actually going to be watching that intimate scene, which can also be triggers for them. There's also our audiences who are actually going to watch this scene. Where does that coordination stop? And so it begins with the actor. But where does it stop? And is there room for it to expand to other networks? For instance, if an actor has a spouse and they need to deal with that after their set, how are they prepared for that? Maybe take us through that.
For example, if an actor has a spouse, how are they prepared for that?
Yes.
Okay. I think, obviously, so before any scene, and we're talking about, for example, a scene that maybe is about a kind of violence, let's say it's sexual violence, right? An assault scene, kind of a scene. So the director needs to communicate clearly what exactly will happen in that scene. Why is that scene important? First of all, we must establish that, because let's not just have, just scenes that serve no purpose.
Correct.
I strongly believe in that as a director. I think if you're going to have, even a scene that is about just intimacy, it needs to serve a purpose. So it needs to communicate, why are we doing this scene? What do we want to achieve? For you, example, if you're after you're done with the scene, you will be debriefed, right? So you will be debriefed, and even before the scene, you need to establish what your boundaries are. If you're the actor, for example, you need to establish to us what your boundaries are. For example, maybe if you're sensitive about, a scar that you have maybe on your shoulder and you don't want it to be seen on camera, that it's very personal to you, you need to communicate that. For example, like maybe you don't like to be touched by your scene partner, maybe on your back, you don't want that. You need to establish what your boundaries are. So that's the before. But now after that, you will be debriefed, and we need to understand, are you all right? Obviously not all right exactly, but I need to understand are you comfortable that everything that was communicated has been executed? Are you okay? Are you comfortable? And do you feel like you were taken through that scene safely and you are comfortable? And then you need to have communicated, obviously in a prior discussion, that obviously the scene is an issue for your spouse. You also need to, I think as actors also need to advocate for themselves, and they must speak up and communicate that, hey, I am fine doing this scene, but please know that, my spouse or whoever has an issue with it. So we will definitely take you through that debriefing afterwards. But that is the job, obviously, of the intimacy coordinators. And that's what they've come in now into our industry to do. And I think they're doing an amazing job.
I want to circle back to that, but for now, I think just touch on where it stops. The coordinating. It starts with the actors. What does it do for the crew that is on set, and what does it do, or how do you consider those who are actually going to watch these scenes that could be a trigger for them as well? So
to watch them to be on the set when we're filming?
Yes.
Okay. So before we even start filming, etc., for the producers, even the production managers, will have a briefing with the crew, and just in terms of conduct, especially, right, because you've been on sets, in terms of how to conduct themselves, in terms of behavior that is acceptable and unacceptable, etc., and also on my sets personally, you will be, you know what the show you're shooting is about. Like, nobody should go onto a shoot that, and they don't know what show they're shooting. So you need to know what show you're shooting, and if you have an issue, you will be told, hey, this is a show, and this is maybe a topic that might be triggering. So you should communicate that definitely with the people in charge. So now this is the producers, this is the assistant directors. You probably won't communicate it exactly with the director. So we will know that this person, for example, maybe if it's a PA, this scene is very personal for them, and they'd prefer to excuse themselves from the scene, and we will definitely consider that. And if they're not essential to when we're filming exactly that time, then they can be excused from the scene. But if, for example, it's the sound person, and I need the sound person on the set at that time, they definitely will be spoken to afterwards, and we will check in with them and make sure that, hey, I know that was a hard scene, and you did mention this. Obviously, you won't pry. They will establish their boundaries. You won't pry exactly to say, why is this triggering for you? But I just need to make sure that you're okay. Yes. All
right. And these actors, because as an actor you are...
I love how you're speaking in the third person, like you're not an actor. Okay, go on.
So, as actors, the responsibility of an actor is basically to live this character truthfully.
Yes.
I'm curious to know, the intimacy coordination, is it targeted to the actor or is it targeted to the character?
It is targeted to the actor. Yes.
So if the actor is demanding or not really demanding, but expressing themselves and saying they're uncomfortable with this, isn't that part of their responsibility when they're preparing themselves as actors to say, this is how much I can be able to give this character, and then to use their methodology of getting into the character and out of the character? So does this whole process also interfere in the creative process of an actor getting into a character?
Yes, but I think that is, if we've gotten to that point and we're already shooting, then somebody dropped the ball, in my experience. And I've done this, that I've done this for many, many years. Somebody dropped the ball, because if we are already on day 7 of shooting and you are now bringing up that, oh, hey, this is an issue for me, I'm not able to shoot, a scene like this, I'm not able to really get as angry as what the script says, then somebody dropped the ball, because before you signed the contract, you should have been walked through what your expectations are of this character. If, for example, if I need you to film a scene in lingerie, that must be
you being the director, right?
Yes, exactly. The production team, even if the director's not there, they know just the highlights of the things that are definitely essential of this character. There is a scene of violence. There is, a scene where we expect to see lingerie, etc. Those scenes need to be discussed, even if you don't know the full scope of the series. Those things need to be highlighted, so that Wakia is not reading episode 17 and she's like, what?
All of a sudden I'm topless.
You're like, when did this happen?
Yeah.
Yes, no. I think that's what I'm saying. Somebody dropped the ball. The line of communication dropped in from the production team somewhere to the actor. The actor should be given all important information for them to make an informed decision, so that they can sign a contract and know that, hey, this is what is expected of me.
So you said what the director would want to do. So directors are definitely in charge of the story. They're responsible for the story. And the actor is responsible for the performance.
Yes.
But in those instances when these two are actually pulling in opposite directions, what do you do as producer, or maybe yourself as a director, when you're in that situation? How do you handle it?
I mean, it always comes down to that lovely phrase that you know, because of, you know, stage and film, is that the show must go on. The show must go on. So you need to find a middle ground. You need to find a middle ground. And we would never, me personally as a director, I would never want to force anybody to perform something that they're not comfortable with.
Yeah.
Because exactly what you said is, we are looking for the truth. We are looking for a true performance. If I'm forcing a performance out of you, it is not true. It is not accurate. So I'm failing. So we need to find a middle ground and say, okay, so you're not comfortable with, you know, wearing red. What do we do? How do we find this, you know, how do we find a way around it? Do we get you an orange dress? And are you fine that if in post I'm able to tweak this dress from orange to red? Is that okay? Mm-hmm. Yes, you must be creative, especially as a producer and a director. Mm-hmm. You must find a middle ground. Also
being very innovative in terms of your shot choices.
Exactly.
Where to place the camera.
Yes.
How many people you want to have on set when you're shooting. And
yes. So like, exactly. So those are the basics now, like the checkpoints of now just filming an intimate scene is, why is this scene there? You communicate to actor is exactly, hey, listen, so in this scene, this man, for example, he's a widow, his wife died. He has been trying to express to this woman that he loves her, and he's unable to ever say it. But now they have found themselves in a passionate moment, and here they are. So why is this scene important? What are we trying to achieve? In terms of the actors, they need to tell you what their boundaries are, what they will and won't do. And you need to also, I think it's important, individually get everybody to consent to what you want to film. Tell them exactly what you're going to shoot, what sort of shots you're going to have, what exactly will be expected of them. Hey, we're going to have a wide, we're going to have a close-up, his hand is going to have to go from the end of your hand to your shoulder, etc. Mm-hmm. You need to be very, very specific and very clear. Don't leave anything vague. Last but not least is obviously a limited set, so that your actors are comfortable and they feel like you are respecting their decency and their privacy.
Grace, we need to look for more time to have this conversation. We can't just end it like this because our time has actually run out.
I've spoken.
But I would just like you to touch on one thing as we actually wind up, and you can also tell us where we can reach you. Let's separate two things. Mm-hmm. There is the actor's comfort and there is the character's comfort.
Yes.
And sometimes these things can actually conflict.
Yes.
Because the character can be comfortable,
yes,
but the actor is uncomfortable.
Yes.
In those situations, what gods do you cry to?
You need to then be a director who, I need to establish the trust with you, Wakio. You need to trust me. You need to trust me, and you need to know that, hey, I am your director. I would never do anything to put you in any harm or to make you uncomfortable. We would like the character to shout as loud as she can. I need you to do this and trust me. So establish that trust with your actor. It's not an overnight process. It's a long process. You want to know how they can reach me? Is that what you're asking? I'm answering all your questions carefully.
And my director is actually in my ear telling me, as your director, I will never do anything to harm you, but you need to close this. So we're going to wrap this up. Thank you so much, Grace Kahaki, and I look forward to having you here one more time.
Thank you.
And I hope you've gotten a little bit of gist of what really happens behind the scenes. I know we haven't gotten right into the things, but we will actually have her back so that we can get into the nitty-gritties. From all of us here on TV47, we just want to wish you all a very good night. I'm Wakio Mzenge. Our sign language interpreter was Rhoda Nyamai. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much.
That was